Dakota Fox News at 9 with Anna Schleisman and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
A bill that would set aside nearly $83 million in state funding for Minot's flood protection project is now state law. Governor Doug Burgum signed a funding bill for the State Water Commission that includes $82.5 million for the major flood control project for Minot. The bill also includes $66.5 million for the Fargo-Moorhead area flood protection project, with $750 million in intent language for the project. Now, Burgum shared disapproval that the intent wasn't $870 million, saying it will protect the state's largest metro area. The majority of Minot's project is slated to be finished by the end of 2020. Well, the current flood threat may be low right now, but moisture is on the way, right, Henry?
Yeah, we got some moisture underway for later this week, but for right now, the wind has been the main story after the cold front pushed through earlier today. The max wind gusts were anywhere from 40 to 50 miles per hour for the first warn viewing area, gusts all across North, South Dakota, and eastern Montana. Thankfully, the wind has let up drastically, now between averaging 5 to 15, some places still averaging 15 to 20. But as we continue over the next few hours, our wind will continue to decrease even more. Right now, 40s and lower 50s for your morning commute, a little bit on the chilly side. Temperatures below freezing, mainly in the upper 20s and the lower 30s. I'll have a complete forecast and more later on in the news.
Thanks, Henry. Well, legislators overwhelmingly approved Theodore Roosevelt's Presidential Library in Medora. But does the area have the capacity for the extra visitors? Well, let's take Dickinson as an example. The Dickinson Conventions and Visitors Bureau says the city has 1,732 hotel rooms, and 2018 data shows 62% of them were filled in June. Now, if every remaining room was filled with 2 new people each of the 30 days in the month, they could accommodate more than 39,000 people on their way to the library.
When you think about how people travel and their travel patterns, you know, especially during peak season, you've got 7 days a week, and we definitely have capacity right now. So I believe we'll be able to meet that need.
None of the $50 million the state is committing would be available until the $100 million is confirmed. And AAA expects a record-breaking 100 million Americans will take a road trip this summer, especially since it predicts gas prices will stay below $3 a gallon. And experts here say North Dakota should get its fair share of traffic.
We have a lot of kind of major milestone events happening in the state this year. There's a lot of celebrations. It's the Custer House has a milestone celebration. Buggies and Blues does.
She also says hotels and recreation cost less here, so travelers get a lot of value when they come to North Dakota. And Mandan residents had a chance to voice their concerns about the Main Street project tonight. A public input hearing at Harvest let people take a look at what Main Street might look like soon between Twin City Drive and the Heart River Bridge. One of the major changes, expanding it to a 3-lane road.
When there's 2 lanes in each direction, they block your visibility, whereas the 3-lane, you won't have that visibility as blocked to see pedestrians, and then just, you know, generally it calms speeds more.
One goal of the update is to make downtown Mandan more walkable and better for businesses. No one spoke in opposition to the project. Well, North Dakota Representative Kelly Armstrong is serving on a select committee to discuss what to do about climate change, and he's seeking input all across the state.
We are both food and energy secure, and we need to maintain that strategic advantage, and any solutions to carbon and clean air and clean water need to recognize those factors as well.
Armstrong says solutions should not just export pollution or jeopardize national security. Well, after protests broke out during the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline, law enforcement wants to make sure they're prepared if a similar situation arises with the Keystone XL pipeline. Ahead of its construction, law enforcement agencies from both North and South Dakota met to discuss preventative measures. Though they hope there aren't protests this time, they want to ensure they have the proper resources to deal with any possible altercations. Bismarck police arrested a Legacy High School student accused of threatening to carry out a school shooting. Documents say a student told a teacher 19-year-old Brent Basquin sent out a meme on Snapchat saying he didn't care whether he lived or died and that he was going to use a .45. Officers say Basquin had hallucinogenic mushrooms in his backpack. He's been charged for terrorizing and drug possession. Prosecutors say Basquin admitted posting the threat but said it was just a joke. And 2 men have been arrested in connection with a hired hit on a former employee of a Williston oil field company. Police say Michael McCreary was paid $2,000 by Earl Brewer in March to attack the victim. And he hit him in the head with a wrench and chased him with a knife. McCreary and Brewer, who police say are associated with the Sons of Silence Motorcycle Club, are both facing conspiracy and assault charges. In Morton County, authorities have arrested 2 people they say were involved in the burglary of a pharmacy in Glen Ullin Saturday morning. They say the thieves took oxycodone, OxyContin, fentanyl, and liquid morphine. The Metro Area Narcotics Task Force and the Sheriff's Department identified the 2 suspects through surveillance video and arrested one yesterday and the other one around noon today. And people in Lincoln chipped in to help police more quickly find the owners of lost animals. More than a dozen of them collected money so the police department could purchase a microchip reader to identify if stray animals have been tagged.
Get on their phone, Google it, and get the information they need. I mean, it's not just on-the-spot identification, it's real-time resolution. That's very important.
If that might happen, we want to know, like, we can get our pet home as fast as possible.
He says it's always great when police have additional tools. Well, some hometown heroes were honored tonight. A recognition ceremony in Lincoln highlighted the efforts of the police department over the last year and a half. Multiple officers have saved lives in that time and are receiving medals for their efforts. They also received awards for experience and training they've received.
We're really happy to go out, do our job as best we can, and help save anybody that needs the help. We're always happy to help.
Their families had the honor of helping pin on the new medals. Well, police are asking for help in locating a 15-year-old girl from the Grand Forks area who may be with a man from Williston. After speaking with Jasmine Metcalf's guardian, Berthold police think she may be with Billy Davidson. Contact local law enforcement with any information. And the woman convicted in the 2016 murder of a Bowman man appealed last week to the state Supreme Court. Madison West was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for her role in the death of 23-year-old Nicholas Johnson. She contends the district court improperly instructed the jury about the conspiracy to commit murder charge. There wasn't enough evidence to convict her, and that she shouldn't have had to stand trial with her ex-boyfriend, who was also convicted. Well, Governor Doug Burgum has taken executive action and suspended 2 members of the Belcourt School Board. Burgum suspended Jeremy Ladisser and Doug DeLorme based on what his office says were credible reports of threats and demands made by the 2 men while the board is under a state financial audit. The Turtle Mountain Tribal Council suspended its own entire school board as well, which both Ladisser and DeLorme sit on. Burgum signed a joint letter of intent to resolve. North Dakota students are getting recognized for high advanced placement exam scores. State School Superintendent Kirsten Basler says from 2016 to 2018, there was a 55% increase in success rate on AP exams. Basler is pleased with the amount of non-traditional students, those who are from low socioeconomic families or rural areas, who are taking and passing these classes.
What we've seen is not only are more of our students taking it, but broader diversity of our students are taking these courses, being successful, earning college credit, and saving money while they're in high school.
Basler credits the legislature along with the National Math and Science Initiative for the increase. And Senator Kevin Cramer announced today that 3 North Dakota cities will benefit from a more than $243,000 AmeriCorps Vista grant. Dickinson will receive just over $50,000 to help low-income seniors and youth become independent through education and training. Fargo was awarded the same amount to help reduce malnutrition and isolation in seniors. And Minot will get nearly $143,000 to support communities, leaders, and entrepreneurs to expand economic opportunity across the state. Well, the University of Mary says it's one step closer to helping solve the workforce shortage. It's been working for months to figure out exactly what the needs are and how to help. And they finally released results of their study. Along with problems recruiting and retaining talent, workforce strategist Brian Opp says they found students lack skills like communication, work ethic, leadership, problem solving, project management, and more.
So many employers identified skill gaps that weren't on our radar. Things like soft skills and professional skills, things that were sometimes seemed really simple.
OPP says colleges and universities need to work with businesses to make sure students stay in North Dakota after graduation. UMary is also preparing to start tearing down Old North Hall to make room for a new engineering building. The $12 million project should be finished by the fall of 2020. Administrators say they hope to raise $15 million and use the other $3 million to help run the engineering program. Engineering professor Terry Pilling says graduates will have knowledge of technology and have valuable hands-on experience, both in the laboratory and with engineers in the workplace.
We're in the battle for the soul of this nation. Oh, that's even more true today.
Well, after much speculation, former Vice President Joe Biden has officially announced his bid in the 2020 presidential election. His 3.5-minute video announcement recounting the 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, and President Trump's remarks in the aftermath. President Trump tweeting in response, "Welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe." Biden also answering questions about why he hasn't gotten an endorsement yet from President Obama.
I asked President Obama not to endorse. Whoever wins this nomination should win it on their own merits.
Biden is now the 20th Democratic candidate to enter the race. Great political analyst Greta Van Susteren says he has something that's put him out front for now, and that's anticipation. And he's not going quite as far left as some of the others in the Democratic candidate pool.
He's taking a more centrist position because he's hoping to gather the working class in Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, because those are the important voters. They're in the swing states.
Van Susteren indicates Biden resonates with the rank and file Democrat. Well, leaders of the two biggest nuclear threats to America met today. But what message were they trying to send?
And the wind is finally starting to let up, but we've got some more changes in our weather when your forecast returns. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Well, with U.S. talks on denuclearization at a standstill, North Korea's leader turned to Russia's president for a first-time summit. Vladimir Putin says Kim Jong-un may be willing to give up his nuclear weapons. Greg Palcott has more.
An elaborate ceremony kicking off an historic summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The first time the strongmen have met in person. And Kim used the opportunity to deliver a message through Putin. North Korea is willing to give up its nuclear weapons in exchange for a guarantee that the U.S. won't invade or try to overthrow his regime.
If we come to a situation where some guarantees for one side, in this case, the guarantees of North Korea's safety, need to be assured, we cannot do that without international guarantees.
Putin also stressed Russia's commitment to the peace process and says he'll explain Kim's message to President Trump. But experts say there's no real change in North Korea's stance on denuclearization, and the summit was more style than substance.
No economic assistance went to Kim, but it fulfills the objectives of the two leaders. For Putin, it shows he's still a major player on the world stage. For Kim, it shows that he's not isolated.
Some Democrats are pointing to the summit as evidence President Trump's strategy isn't working. While Republicans say it's a sign Kim Jong-un is starting to recognize his growing diplomatic isolation.
Kim Jong-un wants to protect North Koreans' interests and wants to protect himself. He's known to be homicidal but not suicidal. So he's going to talk to some of those neighboring countries.
Well, meanwhile, new reports say North Korea billed the United States $2 million for the medical care of Otto Warmbier and insisted payment before releasing him. The college student was comatose when he was set free in 2017 and died 6 days after returning to the U.S. Both the White House and the State Department Special Representative for North Korea at the time are refusing to comment. Well, the Monday morning blaze that tore through the Memorial Congregational Church on the Fort Berthold Reservation devastated the community, and tribal leaders are reacting. The church, built in 1926, is a total loss. No one was hurt, though authorities do have a person in custody. MHA Nation Chairman Mark Fox released a statement saying, "Our nation mourns with all those who held a special place in their hearts for this sacred place. The Memorial Congregational Church has always been and will remain an important part of our nation's history." Well, a week and a half after the fire at the historic Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, rain fell on the city, which could cause further damage. Professional mountain climbers were called in to install a temporary tarp over the much-loved building, much to the relief of tourists and locals. French President Emmanuel Macron has pledged to rebuild the cathedral in 5 years. We'll be getting some rain of our own and, dare I say it, possibly snow, Henry.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a minute. The wind, thankfully, has died down. So for right now, we are talking about decreasing wind across the region. But notice we had max wind gusts anywhere from 40 miles per hour all the way up to 51 for Williston and Minot. But for right now, the wind has let up quite a bit, thank goodness. And the cloud cover remains minimal. We'll see increasing cloud cover overnight and then tomorrow. But for now, we've got a mostly clear sky across the first warm viewing area. Highs today, Bismarck, 61 degrees, 58 for Minot, Dickinson at 56, 57 for Williston. Notice Jamestown had everyone beat 63, even Fargo, 66 degrees. Now, as far as that wind, it remains out of the northwest, anywhere between 5 to 10 miles per hour for viewers across the west. The central region, still a northwest wind, 15 to 20, but that will gradually decrease over the next several hours. Currently, our temperatures mostly in the 40s and 50s for the moment anyway, but it's going to be a little bit on the cool and chilly side for tonight. High pressure plunges in, stabilize our atmosphere, but that is going to be temporarily. We get a little bit more of a southerly wind for tomorrow, even chances for some potential showers, at least for the second half of the day, mainly across Montana and far western North Dakota in the form of rain showers. Clouds throughout the day are going to be on the increase, except for the extreme northeast around Grand Forks. You're looking at a mostly sunny sky, partly to mostly cloudy across the Bismarck-Mandan area. Elsewhere, the clouds will be there. Take a look at your weather in motion. Here's your 7 o'clock a.m. snapshot. We are talking about, well, temperatures starting out mostly in the 20s for your Friday morning, maybe even a few low 30s, but the thing is we are going to be below freezing. 12 o'clock noon Central Time snapshot. Showers possibly moving into the southwestern region for Hettinger, Bowman, Marmarth, into Fallon. Showers possible for you, and then gradually make their way into far western or northwestern North Dakota. That's where the shower chances, rain showers at that, are going to be possible. Otherwise, notice that our highs are going to be virtually in the 50s across the west, and we're talking about 60s across the central and eastern first warn viewing area. So for tonight, morning lows below freezing, mostly in the upper 20s and low 30s. Notice the wind rather light out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles per hour. So if you sail the wind now, it will gradually be letting up. Cloud cover on the increase tonight, and then tomorrow we will be talking about the chance of those rain showers, mainly the second half of your day across the west, including Williston, Dickinson, going with 55 for Dickinson, 57 for the Williston and Minot areas, 58 for Bismarck. Notice the wind out of the south mostly between 5 and 15 miles per hour, so things are looking so much better as far as the wind, but we will be having to deal with some weather problems over the weekend in the form of rain and snow showers. Unfortunately, for the weekend, it's going to be chilly, but eventually things will warm up by the end of next week. So prepare for Friday and Saturday. Nothing terrible, but just make plans for wet weather to impact your plans.
Will do, Henry. Well, a judge's job is to uphold the law, but it seems this judge let the law go right out the window, or in her case, the back door. Well, yesterday, we told you a bill passed to give tax relief to Social Security benefits. Today, North Dakota legislators are saying it was about finding middle ground.
We kind of met somewhat in the middle with a $7.3 million fiscal note where it still encompasses 60% of seniors in that tax exemption for Social Security benefits, and so I think he hit a good compromise there.
While the Social Security bill passed, the Senate rejected the bill to reduce the tax rate for e-pull tab machines and put money into a gambling addiction fund. Well, Citizens Group is already challenging the legislature's efforts to change the initiated measure process. Members have submitted a petition to the Secretary of State's office seeking approval to circulate a petition to amend the state constitution.
Article 3 of the Constitution is powers reserved to the people, that the legislature should not have this shortcut to make that more difficult and should not be giving the people the ability to vote away their own rights.
If the petition is approved, organizers would need to gather nearly 27,000 signatures to place the issue on the ballot. Well, in the meantime, the House approved a bill that sets rules to comply with a voter-approved constitutional amendment aimed at ethics reform. The amendment has provisions to restrict lobbying and create an independent ethics commission, among other things. Competing bills have been considered for months. The Democratic bill is now a study, and backers of a citizen initiative signaling a lawsuit if the Republican bill becomes law. Well, on the topic, a Boston judge's ethics are being called into question. Newton District Court Judge Shelley Richmond was indicted today on obstruction of justice charges for helping an undocumented immigrant escape ICE. U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling says she let Jose Medina Perez, who had already been deported twice, escape out the back door of a courthouse, then lied to her superiors about it. Medina Perez was arrested last March for being a fugitive from justice and for narcotics possession. Well, you would think they were born with it. A wild lesson of survival next. Pandas who have been living in captivity in China are getting a lesson in how to survive in the wild. 5 mother-baby pairs are set to be released, but first they're learning how to find bamboo and water and avoid danger, while the mothers learn how to protect their babies. This helps prepare the endangered animals for life on their own in their natural habitat. Well, our natural habitat here is usually cold, but maybe that's changing.
Kind of changing back to cold anyway, because we're going to be talking about rain and snow showers over the weekend, unfortunately, and cooler temperatures. So decent tomorrow, still a little chilly, but if we could just skip those next few days and get into late next week, we should be good.
All right, so we're going to stay inside and stay warm this weekend, probably.
Yes, not exactly what we want, but we've got to.
Yeah, it'll work. Thanks so much. Have a good night.